OK, that's our reporter Tim Johns. On Twitter, he's at Tim on Cheese. On the referendum that will decide not whether we leave, but how we leave. Is that the way to do it? If you have limited it to two options, it's got to be leave with a deal or leave with no deal. That's it. Mike Parry joins us, broadcaster, as does Alastair Campbell, Tony Blair's former Director of Communications in Downing Street, and you're part of the so-called People's Vote campaign. So you would not want those two options. You'd want a different option.
Well, I do think that that proposition is frankly absurd, because we're in this mess because of a referendum decision that David Cameron proposed, which Parliament backed. And what you've seen is...
No, it's because we've got a very weak Prime Minister. Well, we're in this mess because we've got a very weak Prime Minister.
Can I finish the sentence?
You can finish the sentence, but you're giving the people who are listening the wrong reason why we're in the mess.
Well, if I can finish
in my opinion.
Well, that's fine, right? And you'll have plenty of time. You'll have plenty of time, I'm sure, to give your opinions,
okay. All right.
And I'm going to be the last person in the world to defend Theresa May. She's truly dreadful as a Prime Minister.
Thank you. Just said
that. But what we've got...
I feel I should step in and defend her now, but I'm...
is the country not coming together behind any vision of Brexit, because there is no vision of Brexit that can actually be done without some cost and pain to the country. And at the moment, you've got, for example, Nigel Farage going around the country saying that 17.4 million people voted for no deal. Well, nobody voted for no deal, not least because all of the senior politicians on the Leave side said it wasn't going to happen. It was going to be easy to get a deal. And what you've seen, I think, over the last 3 years is Brexit and its inconsistencies and illogicalities, frankly, destroying themselves. So I think, and by the way, the other option that is doing the rounds, which I don't know whether, and I think that, I read over the weekend, I've got no idea if this is true or not, but is this idea that Theresa May is said to be warming to, where you have a kind of two-part referendum. The first question is, do you want to leave? Do you still want to leave, remain? And if it's remain, we don't go to part two, but part two is, if we leave, should it be deal or no deal?
Go on, Mike.
Alistair, you're in favour of referendums until...
No, I'm not, actually.
Until they come up with a decision that you want.
If I may say, a cheap and not terribly...
No, it's not. It's not.
I'm in favour of putting this back to the people, because the Brexit that was promised by your lot is utterly undeliverable.
Hang on, you say my lot. I didn't vote in the referendum, right?
Fair enough.
I didn't vote, so it's not my lot at all.
You didn't vote because you were confused?
I didn't vote because I don't think I'm bright enough to work out whether the economics of the country would be better inside Europe or outside of Europe.
Talk about it now.
Because I am a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. OK, you own a super brain in Fleet Street, so don't throw that one at me. I'm a Democrat, and the 17.4 million people that you've already identified voted to get out. We should have been out by now.
Yeah, but we're not.
We should have been out by now, and had we had a decent Prime Minister, a decent negotiating team, we'd have gone.
So is it just about how we get out, then?
Excuse me, though, but you are part of the Metropolitan Elite. You're part of the establishment.
He supports Burnley.
Hang on. You and your mate Tony Blair over to Europe, telling them how best to stop this.
Put your Daily Mail
No. To stop this action happening, as a result of which everybody's confused. I really dislike the fact that A, you always pledge to be a northerner, and yet B, your lot, and I can say your lot, sneer and mock.
Anything.
Sneer
I'm a British patriot.
Northern working people
Find me any
who
time.
asked to get out of Europe, and the establishment...
Is this a speech or a discussion?
And the establishment and 2/3 of the MPs in the House of Commons are determined to thwart it.
Let him get back in.
Oh my God! Honestly, you're not on talkSPORT ranting and raving now.
Excuse me, don't start.
You're on a serious middle England radio programme.
Fighting for time to answer my point.
The first is, I'll push to one side. You glib about where I'm from. I happen to have been born in England, born in the north of England. I'm actually Scottish in my blood, but I live in London. I don't think that adds.
Don't trust the man who plays the bagpipes.
I don't think that adds any more than that does, which is borderline racist. That one, Mike. Don't trust the man who plays the bagpipes. Borderline racist. We'll put to that one side.
Okay.
So, on the point about where this goes now, we're now in a situation, you say we should be out. Well, we're not. You say, as Jeremy said...
Because it's been thwarted by the Commons.
Can I make a point?
Let him do his sentence.
Right. You can rant and rave all you want, but as you
I'm not ranting or raving.
You are ranting and raving, Mike.
He's upset because he thinks we should have left.
No, and lots of people are. But amongst those people who think we should have left, very good piece by Phil Wilson, a Northern Labour MP, I think it's in the Independent today. Bridget Phillipson, Sunderland MP, who, frankly, Mike, probably more working class than you are. And they are saying that up there, you're the metropolitan elite by constantly saying that you've got Labour, you've got Northern Remain and Southern Northern Leave and Southern Remain.
Yeah.
It's much more complicated. And there are people...
No, you want to make it complicated.
No, I don't want to make it. It is complicated.
But Alistair, don't we have
want to make it
if
simple.
we have a referendum, the question we're asking here is whether we should not... We have to... We've had one on leaving, we're going to leave. So the question is how we leave. That's the referendum. And it's whether we leave with a deal or without a deal. You've got to have without a deal on the ballot paper, don't you?
Well, ultimately... MPs, you can deride them all you want, but they're the people that we elect to make decisions, which is frankly why I don't think we should have had the referendum in the first place. Park that. But you've got to understand, MPs at the moment, for all the grief they get, they've been doing their job. They have to look at
doing their job.
Let me finish. They have to look at the detail of what's being brought forward by the government and by the Prime Minister.
They were elected in 2017.
Yes,
a lot
I know
of them on
they
a
were.
promise to leave.
Exactly.
Neither party won a mandate.
Their job is to represent their constituents, and more constituents wanted out, and the MP should have gone back to the House of Commons and voted to get us out, instead of which they've betrayed millions of their voters.
And if they'd have not done what you'd have wanted, they'd said, when are these people going to stand up for what they actually believe?
They actually voted. If we had a general election, Alistair, and the vote went against Labour, would you then be campaigning for another general election the next year or 2 years later to reverse the decision?
If I may say so, you've just tied yourself up in a gigantic knot.
I have not. I do not tie myself in knots.
You have elections every few years. That's the point.
Yeah.
The referendum, there's no way coming back. So the reason
you want
why...
a way coming back.
The reason
You're
why...
trying to invent a way coming back from the referendum.
Stop saying it's about me. The reason why there is now a clear majority that want to have a second referendum, including amongst many leavers.
Who told you that?
The reason why every single poll now, if you measure it out, if you put all the polling together, and I know we can dismiss polls, and because they don't say what Mike wants to hear, he'll dismiss them anyway. If you put them all together since the referendum, the shift from the Leave Remain to now Remain Leave represents the second biggest swing in public opinion
might shift back
since it might do.
Yeah.
But why are
this
lot? Why are the extremists, so like Farage? Why are they scared to test it?
Why is Farage an extremist? He's only
Why is he an extremist?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why he's an extremist, because he's got extreme views, including on the issue of the European Union.
Don't you think Jeremy Corbyn's got extreme views?
Well, we're not talking about Jeremy Corbyn.
You just mentioned an extremist who's involved in this situation.
Yes, he is.
Do you think Jeremy Corbyn's an
I
extremist?
think Jeremy Corbyn has some views that I don't like.
Well, exactly.
But I
He
think
wants
on
to
this
renationalise
issue-
water companies
on this issue,
and rob the
I'll
companies
tell you
of billions of
why.
pounds.
For God's sake, Mike, stick on one point for half a second.
No,
if you can.
because you keep throwing these in and I have to challenge
I'm
them.
explaining to you. Let me finish, Jeremy.
Yeah.
I'm explaining to you why Nigel Farage, in my view, is at the extreme end of this debate. Because he, having made, along with Johnson and Rees-Mogg and the rest of them, as many lies as they did during the campaign, he, having been foremost in saying no question of no deal, is now going around saying that he's so dedicated, so committed to the idea of getting Britain out of the European Union, that he's now saying the opposite of what he said at the time.
Okay.
And you're happy with that.
We're in a bit of a cul-de-sac
You're
on
meant to
Farage,
be
but
one of those journalists who believes in politicians telling the truth.
When you
You're
use the
happy with that.
word, when you use the word extremist, aren't we going shading into far-right stroke violence?
Of course we are.
Isn't that the association with that?
He has ditched the extremists. Farage has ditched the extremists, and he now represents people who simply want the will of the people, Brexit, to be carried out.
Mike, at this point, you didn't vote in the first referendum because you didn't want to engage. You were worried about it.
Yeah.
Why argue against a second one? It's just information, isn't it? Isn't it?
Well, how many referendums will we have until it turns the way of the Metropolitan League?
Have another
and
one.
eventually people say we're fed up of referendums.
Is it worth a check, though, before we leave? That's all I'm wondering.
Is it worth
just worth checking with the electorate one more time before we leave?
How many more times? You know as well as I do, situations which are unresolved, the minority becomes the biggest voice, and all of a sudden the authorities cave in.
Give me an example.
Situations in Northern Ireland. Situations in Northern Ireland where they want investigations. You're right. Bloody Sunday and all that.
Sorry,
they don't have investigations until it turns their way.
Wait a minute, Jim. You've raised Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Northern Ireland. How big a deal was that during the referendum campaign? Next to none. What has the impact on Northern Ireland been since the referendum? Wholly negative.
No, it's nothing to do with the referendum. You asked me to indicate a situation where people go again and again and again for a vote until it changes to the way they want it, and that's what I gave to.
We're going to leave it on Northern Ireland. Thank you. We'll stop there. I think we should get you both in again on another day, maybe even another subject. Although we kind of tackled every subject there. Alastair Campbell, and thank you. Mike Parry, Alastair Campbell, thank you. Good afternoon, Radio 2.